But first up, let's head to Sally Cutter at the Weather Bureau. G'day there, Sally. How are you going?
Good, thanks.
Let's have a look at rainfall figures first.
Well, today we're looking at afternoon storms across the top end. It was actually something I really wanted to do. We had a really good geography teacher back in year 8 and I planned my whole uni degree around getting into the Met Bureau. How are those storms going? Typical work day for me would be first thing in the morning, reading the notes that have been left by the previous shifts. I then have a look at the models to see whether anything's changed. Models are a bit like a simulation. People might have heard of running a simulation to see what will happen, and that's basically what the models are. You start with a starting point, you run the model which simulates what's going on in the atmosphere, and then that spits out answers at whatever time interval you want. Sitting under my desk I have my faithful companion Esther, who's a seeing eye dog. I've got a condition that's known as retinitis pigmentosa, which is basically the rod and the cones dying in the eyeball. Somehow they've got themselves organised to die from the outside in, so I'm left with central vision, but I've got no peripheral whatsoever, so I can see straight ahead of me but not to the side. So you need to look at the models every day, and this is one of the adaptions that I've got. Size-wise is a good size for me to see. I can see most of Australia, but it's sort of fuzzy around. I can't see a full panel. The further back I am, the more I can see, but the further back you go, you lose the ability to see a lot of the detail in there.
We do have this little...
And as we go through the course of the day, all the models are saying the same thing. It's likely that this will happen. So we're now feeding into the national systems. We've got units that specialise not only cyclones but also severe thunderstorms and in flooding.
Cyclone Tracy is heading back towards Darwin. The latest report from the Bureau of Meteorology at noon today said the cyclone was 110 kilometres west-northwest of Darwin.
Since Cyclone Tracy in 1974, we've seen significant improvements in the way that we can get the information from satellite imagery. Now we've got the geostationary satellites that sit in the one spot the whole time and just take the picture every 10 minutes now, rather than the polar orbiters which went over once, maybe twice a day. And also with radar imagery, we're getting them in a much more usable format. Towards the end of the day we write the state forecast, so that's the forecast for the Northern Territory. Each state does their own forecast, and then that gets fed out with all the other forecasts.
Fire danger, the Simpson and Eastern Lassiter.
You can get apps now that text to speech. If I'm needing to read large documents, I'll often use that. Retinitis pigmentosa is genetic and it's degenerative. The main impact is the fact that you can't find things that you've put down. You've got to remember where you've put everything down. You can get disorientated in a room. Occasionally I've found if I get out my phone and turn the camera on, I can say, oh yeah, that's what's happening. It's because it's got a wide angle lens on it. So of course it sees more than I can see. And you can't drive. So that's probably the biggest frustration, apart from not being able to find where you've put your water bottle down. We've seen some more storms down through. The life of a forecaster is basically interpreting images. Unfortunately, as the vision deteriorates, my role will have to change. There's things out there that I can still do. So I can do some public education, but so it's more looking at what skills I have and seeing where I can utilise those skills without having to do a lot of high intensity visual work. On your bed. Good girl, good girl.